Ready, Chief?
Yep.
I'd like to call the Tuesday, March 18th, 2025 Ione City Council to order. Janice, could you please call roll?
Councilmember Atlan,
Here.
Councilmember LaFane,
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell,
Here.
Vice Mayor Maida,
Here.
and Mayor Rowe.
Here. Will you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a approval of the agenda, please?
Move to approve the agenda.
We have a first,
Second.
we have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Presentations, I'd like to take this moment to address something. As many of you are aware, I was involved in an incident last night.
Point of
For
order.
various reasons. I'm
Point
not
of
able to
order.
say anything more
I have
about
a
it
point of order on the
at
floor.
this time. I appreciate your patience and
It's
understanding.
not a
how
political
this matter
platform.
proceeds. Thank you very much.
Can you acknowledge my point of
Any-
order?
Any-
Point of order is acknowledged. It's
Thank you.
an Announcement of the mayor, yeah.
Public comment, any items not on the agenda?
Yeah, Tommy Quinn downtown. Yeah, no politics. You're a great mayor. That's the first thing I got to say right there. Yes, sir. The other one's gonna really surprise you. Mr. Atland and can see your name. Yes, both voted down on that carpet stuff. I want to really congratulate you guys.
On the what?
The turf, whatever that crap is. I'm so happy that you did that and you went way up in my eyes. I'll never bring up Australia again, I promise.
All right.
I even got a haircut just like yours. But that was really big of you, both of you, and I thank you for that because that was a terrible idea. Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Thank you,
Surprise.
Tommy.
I'm glad I'm sitting down.
I know you're from Greece, but
Yeah.
I'm Larry Rhodes. I'd like to mention about Lori McGraw's trial. It was kind of disgusting, but I went to everything to it. And I hope that the three people that really caused this, the councilman, the three of them that were there then, and one of them's on it now. I hope that they give the same punishment that she got with harassment and bull crud going on for 4 years. I hope you get the same thing. Thank you.
Homer Rhodey, 621 Pleasant Valley Drive. Mary, you know I'm not on your favorite person list and you're not on mine. However, I believe that everybody is innocent until proven guilty. But if I believe what's on social media and on the news, which was at Channel 13 at 4:30 today, if that in fact holds true, then I strongly suggest that you resign your position. Thank you.
Gary Thomas, it's true, about you are innocent until proven guilty, no matter who you are, the five of you up there, all you people, everybody in this room, not just your constitutional right. Mayor, you're doing a good job. I wish this council would fight a lot less. And for those that are asking for you to resign, they can shove it in my book.
that's right.
They can shove it. Your personal life and your life as a mayor do not intersect. You're entitled to your personal rights and your life. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, council, public. Dan Epperson, District 2 Supervisor. Just a little update. Right now, the supervisor is still working on roads. That's kind of a big focus of what we're trying to get done. However, we have a $3 million deficit, just transparency, working through that process, trying to reduce that. It wasn't planned for it because that's a deficit. So working through that process. Letters went out to the different departments. We're working towards bridging that gap. We've got plenty of reserves. We're not in any danger or anything like that. We just got a gap to fill. And then part of that process too, we're not just trying to, close the gap. We're also trying to build some industry and whatnot. So we did approve a hotel there down below the airport and the runway strip. They're kind of in that little lot across from O'Reilly Auto Parts. So that was approved. That'll be moving forward and should open in a couple of years. And along with that group there too, they are looking for another location for a hotel. And I think we have a good suggestion for that. So with that, I'll conclude my comments and thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Dan.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on Lori McGraw. All the people that were against her here at the city, they need to read the law. Because embezzlement is a long thing and they just wanted to get rid of her, or I don't know what they did. But it's funny now that she's won, and I guess that she gets to keep her money that they said she embezzled. Isn't that a good one? She gets to keep her 20,000 or whatever it is. So we lost out all the way around. We had bad attorneys, we had bad advice. And I knew she wasn't guilty. And now somebody's going to have to pay her attorney fees. I don't know if it's going to be the city or the people that accused her. So get ready for that. And that's a shame because we don't have the money. And now there's another lawsuit pending. And I hope the people that are named in it have to get in trouble for what they did to her. So Stacy, hang in there. Everybody drinks and all this good stuff and there's one person in Ione, I ain't gonna mention her name. Everybody knows her. She was on Facebook just going on and on. That's pretty chicken shit of her, whoever she was.
Neighbor,
Huh?
neighbor.
No, it's against the law. I don't want to get in trouble. Everybody knows who she is. And she just likes to cause trouble for everybody.
That's right.
Your private life is your private life. And if you do get convicted, don't resign.
He's not gonna get convicted.
But no, I said if he does, it does. I didn't say he was. But you don't ever resign. Just keep doing the good work you're doing. With three of you guys up there, you guys are taking us over the hill like Trump is. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I'd like to comment on the Lori McGraw trial. I chose to attend that trial for all of the days that it went on. It was an absolute disgrace. It turns out that DA Reby was very much called into question as to whether or not this case was brought in order to slow down Lori McGraw's case against Epperson, Ratton, Atlin, Sophie Meyer, and Rock. From all of the evidence I saw, that was indeed what was going on. It was ugly. Reby was called to testify under oath. He did. And it was later read to the jury. The judge very much said at the closing argument stage, it is your responsibility as jurors to evaluate whether or not the person was truthful and whether the evidence was material. And I'm sure he was thinking of Reby. Also, two people were identified as perjuring themselves. Your former city manager, Michael Rock, and your former city attorney, Sophie Meyer, I believe is her name. That's not good. Also, a very strange thing came up where Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Rhodes ethics were brought into question, where Reby said he received a phone message or a text message on a phone number that he didn't recognize. If you're a senior person, you know that that is scam number one, the good old spoof. And oh, by the way, send me money and let me buy a gift card. So if anybody wants to write a letter to the Ledger complaining about, the two of these people ostensibly trying to influence it, don't.
because it'll just make you look like a fool. The difficulty of this is a case that influences Ione, but it influences the entire county. Can you buy justice? You know, Lori McGraw was tormented for 2 years of her life by this silly case that never should have been brought. You know, the DA's own witnesses perjured themselves. In a key element, it turns out that the city council didn't bother when they took Lori out of her dual position to say that they wanted salary changed. Thank you for not paying attention. Also, the Ledger, this was about the worst reporting I've seen, which is a disappointment, and Jack knows this. So this is bad for Amador County. It's bad for this city. I hope you do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Any other public comment? Seeing none, got anything on Zoom, Chief? No. Close public comment. Move on to consent calendar. We
I'd
have
like to pull the consents for discussion.
okay, we have a motion to pull consent calendar. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? I have it. Go ahead.
Now, just a couple quick questions. Do we still employing Will Dan as our city engineer for building inspections? I see Weber Gio's here again for 2 months, $12,000 for building inspection fees.
Can you use a microphone, please, George?
Oh, George. Oh,
under my purview
right,
because
15
of,
grand. Yeah,
yes.
I understand. So when they go over 15, are we going to see a contract?
Actually, I was going to bring to the council probably next month RFP
Perfect.
because Wildan's contract ends in June, I believe. So
June, yes, I understand that.
So we're
but I
going to bring up
don't
another
think they
RFP.
plan on returning.
Yes. Mhm.
And attorney fees. $43,000 for 1 month.
All right.
I don't think we've ever paid $43,000 in 1 month for attorney fees. I think we need to look at that. I think we need to look at the bills. I understand you're writing staff reports. You should not be writing staff reports. I don't think they're in your retainer agreement. If they're not, then they're being billed at a much higher rate and staff should be writing the staff reports. That's a high bill. So I would like to bring the attorney bills to council and make sure that those bills reflect the direction given to council. We used to get invoices.
Well, the invoices are available to review, but any invoice that happens on the agenda would have to spend more time to redact it because the whole bill and invoice isn't.
Okay, well then
Public
just
record.
send them to the council when you send them to the city manager for
Well,
payment.
you'd have to come in to review them here at City Hall, but that's fine. That's the purview of the council, of course.
Right. Well, last time I asked for them, I was told we can't find any. So that's all I have, but a $43,000 attorney bill for 1 month is unbelievable.
Any other comments from council? On this item?
I'd like to know, I think the council here, I'd like to know what each one of our council members requested from your firm, how many hours you spent. I know I spent this much time in legal fees. I'd like to know how much any one of us has spent in the last 2 months regarding city business on an individual basis, not counting the city manager, strictly council persons.
But generally, we respond as directed. And so if there's going to be city attorney driven agenda items, that's going to be research, that's going to be staff reports, it's going to be resolutions, it's going to be new policies. If a city attorney is going to be leading golf course discussions and other closed session matters, whether that be the management agreement and Jay Gould and West, we're happy to do the work. We want to stay within budget, but it really depends on at what point, what is that level where we stop work? And at this point, what's been requested has been a number of hours So we're happy to continue. Council member requests, council member correspondence, all that takes time. So we respond as directed. But so far, that's about where we are.
I understand. I'm certainly not criticizing your bill or whatever. My point I'm trying to make is that I think that council persons here have a tendency to spend a lot of money on attorney fees, and I think we should be limited. I believe that we can be limited on how many hours we can actually request services. And I think the last couple of months' bills show an extreme lot of, obviously, some back and forth and some communication with your firm that I think is frivolous and I think is irresponsible as far as spending money. That's what I believe. And I'd like to see if any of the council members have anything else to say.
Well, your monthly retainer is $11,000, correct?
It's a flat amount, but any work
Right.
beyond that is
Right.
hourly. Yeah.
I think I've spent about 4 hours communicating with you. So
That's
Communication.
all I have on the warrants.
Yeah.
any other discussion on the warrants? Someone want to make a motion, we pay the warrants?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. We pay the warrants. Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, moving on to our regular agenda. First item, review and accept the City of Ione Housing Element Annual Progress Report for 2024, Susan Peters, City Planner. We got her on Zoom, I hear.
Yes, Susan Peters on Zoom.
Good evening. Thanks for humoring me being on Zoom. I'm a bit under the weather and I didn't want to share my germs with everybody. The annual housing report is a report that's required by the California Department of Housing and Community Development on an annual basis. And the idea is that you're supposed to review your housing element, which is one of the 7 mandated elements of the general plan, on that annual basis to make sure that you are following the policies and implementation measures that are in that plan. So towards that end, and I'm getting it up here on my screen, sorry. There's several components of this annual progress report. The first one is that you have to demonstrate how many houses that you've built or occupied in a given year. So that report was generated by the building department, and we will populate that table prior to submitting it to the Community Housing Development Department prior to the April 1st deadline. The other most important part is what's called Table D, and that's where you look at all of the implementation measures and if you've met them. So this is a relatively new housing element for the city. It was approved last year. It was approved actually in 2023, but not finally certified by the Housing and Community Development Department until this year for a lot of reasons. Last year, we did base our housing annual report on the new 6th cycle housing element. And because it was so new, basically none of it had been implemented. Now that we've had it under our belt for a year, we have done some things. So the highlights of what planning staff has done to meet some of the measures of the housing element included the establishment of the countywide housing workforce work group. And that's made up of all the planners in the city for the cities and the county. And we've met 3 times last year, and we went over issues that are dealing with accessory dwelling units, the water efficiency landscape ordinance, and then growth projections for the Amador Water Agency's master plan. We just met this month as well to deal with secondhand smoke and in multifamily housing. So we're trying to tick off all those boxes of all those different issues that are considered constraints for healthy and affordable housing for everybody. like I said, this is an annual progress report. It's due by April 1st every year. And if the planning commission already reviewed everything, didn't have any substantive changes to the document. And if the council chooses to accept this report, I will go ahead and get it filed with the state by that April 1st deadline. Any questions of staff?
Thank you, Susan. Any questions?
No, this is virtually the same one with a few updates, right, Susan?
That's correct. So it's the same, all the same policies that we looked at last year, because that's what's in the housing element. And then it's just updated with what we've done. And it's been a year. We've done some implementation measures, but we expect to do quite a bit more this year. Now that we've gotten it finally accepted by the state, it was hard to want to move forward too hard if they hadn't certified the document. And I'll say the housing element is the only element of the general plan that is required to be certified by any state agency.
Any other questions from council?
That's all I have.
I have none. Thank you, Susan.
All right, we'll open up the public comment. Anyone want public comment on this item? It's like we have one.
Larry Rhodes again. I don't know what page it is, but there's one of the pages in 2027. They're supposed to build beds for the homeless. I guess who's going to pay for all that? I don't know how they're going to put because I asked her about it at the planning commission meeting. And I guess as a group get together and they could have 1 bed or 2 beds or 12 beds. And I says, who's going to maintain this? And she says, there's grants to do it. Well, guess who pays for the grants? And this is getting totally out of kilter here. Why should I be paying for somebody that don't want to work? Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I'm Teresa Doctor. I live down the street, 114 North Aurora Seco Street. And I want to talk about last night's incident.
No, you can't, honey, it's on.
I don't care.
No,
Look.
No,
You were set up. You were set up by somebody like that.
you can't speak on this as this item's not on the agenda.
I don't know, Fernando. Look,
You could-
he was set up.
Any other public comment on item number 1? I'm seeing on Zoom, Chief. We'll close public comment. Any other council questions or comments on this for Susan?
Need to make a motion to approve?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion. I don't have it in front of me, but I'll make a motion to approve pardon me? Motion to accept the housing element report of 2024 progress report.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
I said aye.
Moving on to item 2, discussion review of Howard Park Master Plan and Capital Improvement Plan and Statement of Qualifications from RRM Design Group, and authorize the city manager to negotiate a professional services agreement with RRM Design Group to commence work on the Howard Park Capital Improvement Plan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As previously directed by council, staff released a request for qualifications for preparations of a comprehensive capital improvement plan to implement the 2010 Howard Park Master Plan and 2023 Master Plan update. Inquiries were made by a few firms, but the city only received 1 statement of qualifications by February 27, 2025. I would like to add that they did pull up an old master plan. For those interested, there's the new, the most updated plan that they will be working off right on the front table there. The sole proposer, RRM Design Group from San Leandro, met all the requirements set forth in the RFQ and is highly qualified with this extensive experience. included in their statement of qualifications is a fee schedule that provides the city with a cost breakdown for the proposed Howard Park capital improvement project. The total cost to provide a comprehensive master plan and CIP is estimated to be $87,120. Should the city council choose to authorize the city manager to negotiate a professional services agreement, staff will prepare the agreement and execution authorizing resolution for consideration at the next available meeting. But basically, what this would do is prioritize the master plan that is already in existence in terms of how much each phase would cost in terms of moving forward. That is something that we've never had before is you want to do parking, you want to do a fence, okay? Also establishing the priorities of each step and then putting a value to each step. So this is what this master plan would do.
I thought Amy Gidney did this once. They went to Evelyn Bishop Hall and opened it up to the whole town and did
Yeah, so
something.
that's
the
the
master
result of the
plan.
2023 plan that's there right there. So that's the
Okay.
master plan. But now you have to go in terms of priority. So you need a fencing. So what is the priority
Okay,
of the
okay.
different items
No,
and
thank
how
you.
much it's going to cost? So that is the next step.
Thank you. Any other council comments or questions?
The map update, I noticed on social media, they were talking that the certain items were missing.
Yes, they pulled
And
up
those
an
are
old
not
map.
missing. Those are,
That's right there on the front page. Yeah, they pulled up an old,
what I'm referring to as softball fields as well as the disc golf was not on the old map.
Yeah.
So in case you're wondering, that is part of the master plan. That's the reason I brought it up.
yeah, and that's in the new plan up there.
Thank you.
Yeah, the same comments. I noticed that the disc golf was missing and girls softball was missing, but I understand that that's not accurate. In this package, that's not the master plan. And then this project is not to change the master plan. It's just to find funding for the master plan, which I agree with. My only concern is, we're almost at the end of this budget cycle and I would support this. I asked a question to get a response about whether this is actually funded this year. But if it's not funded this year, then I would like to wait a couple more months and do this in the next budget cycle, because I think it's a good idea. I just don't want to spend $87,000 in this budget that we haven't already budgeted for. That's all. But I don't think it's a good idea, because I think it's a good idea. But for next budget cycle, which is coming up.
I'll sort of dovetail off of Councilman Atlin. I would like to see it in the next budget. And since we have time to put it out again, so we can get 3 competitive bids, that's the process to receive 3 competitive bids. Possibly we didn't circulate it as much, but we want the lowest competitive price for the taxpayers. This came up in an agenda meeting last year with Vice Mayor, myself, and I, with staff. And 2 of the priorities that were highlighted that I don't see in here were to focus, 1, on ADA compliance in Howard Park, creating parking spaces by the soccer fields, by softball when they come in, everywhere. Baseball throughout the park, ADA compliance, pathways, and so forth. That was number 1, because right now that park is not ADA compliant. 2, a traffic flow study for safety reasons. Those were the high priorities, which I think should come before any CIP projects. We
Well-
continue to build in Howard Park and overlook safety and ADA.
Well, that's why it says here to authorize me to negotiate. So those items can.
Well,
be
those aren't
included.
negotiable. Those are a federal law.
Okay, so I can negotiate those in the contract. So in my personal opinion, again, I would recommend that you prove that, because I understand the 2 council persons, concern about this fiscal budget. But again, we've been talking about this master plan for a long, long time. And you know what? My recommendation is to move forward to get something done, because again, that master plan has been in existence for a long time. And it's, in my personal opinion, to move things forward, because whether we do it this year or next year, comes out of the same pot, and we do have the money in the Parks and Recreation Capital Improvement Fund. And that's what it's for, Howard Park. So in my personal opinion, we should move forward and start making things happen in Ione.
And can I ask a question? Why didn't this start at Parks and Rec?
Excuse me?
Why didn't this originate with Parks and Rec? They usually do all the due diligence, and by the time it gets here, every question is answered. That's sort of their job.
Well, it was my decision to bring it to the council to expedite things because summer's coming up and so forth. So again, I don't think I have to bring anything to Parks and Rec. It is at my discretion. So
I'm not
again,
sure about that, but
well,
see, usually if we follow the process, by the time it gets here, all the questions are answered. We just look at their results and their recommendation, their report. They've
Right.
covered everything. And we look at it and say, you know what? We like it. We'll approve it. Takes 5 minutes.
I understand.
And that's why we have a Parks and Rec
Understand.
Commission.
But again, I'm trying to save some time and I'm more interested in getting things done as opposed to spending a lot of time on the process, which we seem to spend a lot of time on is the process.
That's government, yeah.
Well, and nothing
Can't
gets done.
bypass regulations.
Again, I'm following all the regulations. So again, I'm bringing, again, the CF, the RFQ that you guys wanted. So it's up to you. Either vote for it or don't vote for it.
Mr. Lee, I'd like to ask you the process as far as the bids. Seems to me like my understanding is that you put out.
We did the proper process. We put it out and we received one bid. And I wonder why. Okay, I wonder why we only received one bid.
I want to hear a public comment, but just my one statement I want to make, and I can make it later, I guess, but I'm anxious, particularly after what took place with the turf issue and stuff, to get this master plan going and start getting these things like softball and all these things taken care of. Well, at least we'll have a plan. So anyway, please come up and comment. Stacy, it's up to you.
You got anything, Jack?
No.
Okay. We'll open up to public comment.
Sorry. No, I'm you.
Go ahead.
Softball.
Thank you. My name is Derek Baker. I'm with the Amador County Girls Softball. I really want to see stuff move forward. I want softball fields here and I think this council knows how much I want these things to move forward. I am not a fiscally responsible person myself and I don't know if the city has ever really been, but I just really want these fields to move forward. So I that's all I have to say. I mean, I'm not the one that says we have money or we don't. If we don't, that doesn't sound like it's the most incredible thing to do. We've been waiting for, I don't know, 5 years, but at the same time, let's get these fields going, man.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Renee Hansen, I own Parks and Recreation Commission. Councilwoman LaFane is correct. It did not come through us, but the master plan did. And I did have a chance to go over the proposal. And I think that this is workable. I don't know that we're going to get a cheaper price for everything that they're promising. Doesn't mean we're going to get what they promise, but I think it's a way for something that the Parks Commission has been recommending, and that is an action plan, thank you, with baseball and with soccer and with softball, disc golf, all of us. It is something that A.B. Gedney started. And this is, I think, an easy plan to work in the ADA priorities and the traffic and the parking. It's in there broadly. And I think that this council, when they meet, and if George meets with them as it's included in their plan, can direct those priorities. So thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Any other public comment?
This is Amber Hoyska. I'm actually the chair of your planning commission, and I just wanted to weigh in for the benefit of Mr. Lee that we do have process. We do have 2 separate boards. We do have commissions. In the first board item that we had today was the housing plan, which did come before our commission preceding the city council. We do appreciate having a variety of opinions and people and diverse experiences that come into the process by the city. The sole focus is not on accelerating and imposing timelines. I am speaking as the vice president of a commercial roofing contractor. I have about 25 years of experience in the construction industry. Every single year, we put projects and bids together that are not awarded, that are not responded to. We continuously put resources, and this is not an anomaly to have a single bid responded to in RFP. My point here is that I don't think the comments that are being made are relevant with the agenda items in front of you. And I think that there does need to be an entire context taken, like what your Parks and Commissioner has advised, that they are seeing there is benefit and merit to working this forward. But I would like to take this opportunity to remind the city to involve and engage your volunteers and your appointed and elected members in this process. I think that resulting in a single person's opining from their role has clearly led to some misguided efforts in 2025 alone. Part of that is relative to the attorney fees that you're speaking about. Those excessive costs, I can advise on what some of those have been spent on, can't I? So let's all keep in mind what is in our purview and respect those also that have roles for the city. And I think in this circumstance, I was inclined to say that maybe this does need to go back out to bid, but I do respect the opinions given by the Parks and Commission tonight. So if there is a path forward that makes sense, that's great. But ramrodding forward a single bid response, I can tell you I get so frustrated when I see staff do that, because they do. And it often results in a poor decision for the agency they're representing. So that's what I have to say regarding this comment.
Any other public comment?
Hello, Lee Lockhart, resident of Ione, 43 years. I came in here in a big huff, but I think that through Facebook posts, we were kind of notified that the map in this proposal was a little bit off. So I would go back to the way what Allison said was, this was brought on fast. It wasn't ran through Parks and Rec. A lack of information or maybe incorrect information leads to a whole hallway full of disc golfers that are like, wait, what's going on? We're not included in the map. Neither is softball, which is why Derek's here, because I immediately was on the phone. Derek, did you see this map? So maybe a little bit more public outreach. Maybe this company could have said, hey, are the materials that we're presenting for this agenda appropriate? Is this going to generate maybe a negative public response because some of that information didn't get reviewed a little, better? So all I could say is, like, my first impression is if they're willing to put out a map like that and a proposal like that without running it by everybody and saying, hey, is everything good? Do you want to put this out? Like, might want to look at that twice, because, like, again, you've got a whole group of disc golfers that are just like, wait, why aren't we on the map? We should be included. So I'm glad that Fern Day, she went on Facebook and was like, hey, no, look, this is the actual map in place for the master plan. I don't know why they use that map, but here's the right one. And that was like, whew, because we've spent years of just going back and forth, just trying to provide something positive for the community. So I was hoping we were continuing to work forward. It seems like we are. So is that a map available tonight? Or oh, thank you very much. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Every time I've got to speak, it has to do with social media. Lee Lockhart, you were the one that provided the map on social media that got everybody all excited about tonight's meeting. It was not the city council's map. It was the one you posted and got everybody excited. Once again, the city council needs to not run on Facebook and run on City Hall and stay away from social media.
Ray Caputo, 707 Shakely Lane. I am on the Parks and Rec Committee, and I concur to basically what my contemporary said, and also for the commissioner from the Planning Commission. However, having sat around and watched this and seeing how this process goes, it seems to go in a circle to nowhere. And at some point in time, having managed large contracts and corporations, somebody has to get the project off the dime. If it means you have to bypass things because nothing's getting done, then it's better to get something done than to sit around and keep going around in circles. I honestly believe, and I'd like to see the Parks and Rec, since we don't have a commissioner, get more involved with the planning, with the Parks and Rec, with the city manager and the council to move this stuff along a lot quicker. And I firmly believe if it's led right, it'll happen.
Thank you, Mr. Caputo.
Any other public comment? Got anyone on the Zoom, chief?
No.
Close public comment? Any more discussions on this item?
Am I too late? It's Fern Day.
Fern just came up.
Okay.
Sorry. I just wanted to say that I agree with Renee that this was part of our agendas for years. And it felt really good to finally get it done. This is the next necessary step. It'll help get things done, get grants together.
Why didn't you?
And I recommend that we move forward to start the next step of the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Fern. Close public comment? Any other discussion? Question for council?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. As you know, my only concern is the budget. We meet at the beginning of the year, we set a budget. If we're not gonna have a budget, then why do we even bother? Why don't we just like every month do a budget amendment? So are we gonna get is Michael here? Are we gonna get a budget amendment on this? If we decide to go forward, because legally we're supposed to, but I have maybe another suggestion. They're not gonna do all this work in the next 2 months, right? I mean, it's several months of a project. I would be okay if we were to say spend 20,000 between now and July 1, and then the balance would hit the next budget cycle. I mean, that's a compromise that I'd be willing to do. That way we get to move on this, right away, but we don't get to expend the funds right away. So I was wondering if that was, do these people need their $87,000 up front, or could George make a deal and say, look, the council's going to approve it, but we need to put it over 2 budget cycles? And I would be
What I
okay
would
with
be
that.
doing is you would be authorizing me to negotiate the contract. So in negotiating the contract, of course, we have staff. I've already had conversations with staff. They can do some of the work already. So is the contract going to ultimately end up at 87,000? No, it's not going to. That's their proposal. But this is my skill set in negotiation. So this is what you would be authorizing me to do, is negotiate what the cost would be to have these services.
What will we spend this budget cycle, George?
That I don't know. I haven't.
Probably not going to be 87, is it?
I haven't negotiated with them yet, no. So again, what you're authorizing me to do is negotiate. I would have to bring it back on the consent calendar. So again,
No, not a consent calendar.
whatever. But again, I think Parks and Rec, I think this has been in the works for a long, long time, this master plan, from what I understand. It's been, finalized for a long time. So, and from my understanding, Parks and Rec did, participate in this. They had many community meetings at EVB. So again, and you want me to go back? So and it's a decision whether you want to move forward or stay still or move back. Okay, so again, my job is to try to bring you things forward so you can move forward and keep the city of Ione moving forward. Not stay still, not go backwards, but continue to move forward.
Their timeline here is just to put the project into context and on paper is 6 months. With the public hearing in September and their project starting this month. That is drafting the plan, finalizing the plan. It's a lot of paperwork for 6 months. And I understand Councilman Atlin's suggestion, because this is going to go into the next budget. this project, the way they have it set up is going to go into the next budget. So if we split it in half this budget, half next budget, identify maybe the first half where they number 3A all the way up to May. And definitely put in the priority of ADA compliance and a traffic study.
I would ask that you approve it as is.
Right now, this is council discussion.
Council discussion.
I'm for this, so, I mean, I'm willing to make a motion on this. I feel more comfortable about it. I think it's a win-win. And I think it's a win-win for Mr. Councilman Atlan also because it really will fall into the next budget cycle because, but we need to authorize him to start negotiating. So I make a motion that we, authorize the city manager to negotiate a professional services agreement with RRM Design Group to commence work on Howard Park CIP.
I got a quick question because I did ask the finance manager. So will this hit this budget cycle and will we get a budget amendment once we decide what we are going to spend this budget cycle?
So anything that hits this budget cycle that is outside of his authorized amount, yes, it'll come up for in the budget adjustment. And then anything that rolls to be projected part of next year's fiscal year, it's just going to be built into the budget. I'm actually in the middle of building it now, so the timing works out great.
All right, thank you.
Okay, that makes sense.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Quick, for the record, who was the second?
I was a second.
Well, usually the rest of the council seconds, unless somebody doesn't.
All right, moving on to item 3, discussion action to approve a 5-year extension to the development agreement with Castle Oaks Partners LLC and Spyglass View Village LLC for the Castle Oaks Development Project and adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute and operate an operating memorandum and memorialize the extension.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure many in this room have more history on the Castle Oaks development than myself. We received a request from the developer, was a party to the development agreement back from 2005 for a 5-year extension to the development agreement, which would otherwise expire in August of this year. Under the provision, our determination is that they're entitled to the extension so long as they can demonstrate that they're diligently proceeding with the project. Only the commercial area and Village 10 remain undeveloped, and there are 2 separate developers for those 2 areas. So this 5-year extension is with those 2 parties. Their representative is here, I believe, to answer any questions the council may have. And our recommendation would be to authorize execution of the operating memorandum, which would be attached to the development agreement.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments before we ask Tom to come to the podium?
Nope.
Want to come to the podium, Tom? Got any questions for you, or if you want to make any statements?
Tom Sweat for Castle Oaks Partners and Spyglass View Village LLC. Again, I can answer any questions anybody has. It's a straightforward provision of the contract, and we're almost there. Like I said, we have 1 residential village left. If everything goes well, hopefully we'll start infrastructure improvements in the fall on that. That's our hope. So the end is near. We just need a little bit of that extension to get to the finish line. I know it's 5 years. It shouldn't take that long to finish building it out. And then when it comes to the commercial, we're actively looking for people who are ready to develop that. And we've had some discussions with the city about ideas they might have as well. So we look forward to continuing that conversation also.
Thank you, Tom. Any questions for Mr. Sweat? No, seeing none. Any other council discussion before I open up to public comment? Open public comment. Any public comment on this?
I kind of have a problem giving it to him. It's not against you, but it's against company. They've had about 8 amendments. They took 12 acres of the industrial park out front. They also took Village 9, which is a gated community. That was supposed to be industrial property. And they don't have an egress and ingress in the 10, which is supposed to, we've got to give them $1 million. And also, they didn't pay ATC $550,000 like the one in Sutter Creek didn't pay 1.2 million. That's $2 million the developers got away with in this county. I have no idea what they've done over at Zinfandel. But I know those two is 1.2 and 5, I believe it was $550,000 there pay ATC. We never got a school. Excuse me, you go to Elk Grove, they put in 700 homes, they get a school. We got nothing. Zip. And I just think this is ridiculous. We're giving them all this money and they got to have an egress and ingress into there. So that means you got to complete the road through Ringer Ranch. We've let them build different places around here. And you know what? It cost us almost for Wildflower because of 36 million bucks because we didn't have egress and ingress. We could have got fined for that. So you better think twice about okaying this. Thank you.
Any other public comment? We got anything on Zoom, chief?
No.
Nope. We'll close public comment.
I think we got.
Oh, wait, we got one more.
I thought Ione learned their lesson about giving extensions. We do this with everything and then we end up getting stuck. Let's say this project goes on don't start for another 4 years. Everything is going to change. You don't forget sewer, roads, everything. So I don't think you should give them an extension. It's time that we stand up to these developers and if they want to build. Otherwise, come in with a new contract. Because I don't want to get stuck again raising our sewer bill and we have to pay for everything, us poor old residents. And developer walks away with money in his pocket. There's only one developer in this did anything, and Ione did anything for us is Wildflower up here. They did a lot for us. And I'm very proud of him. I think he's did a good job. And he's the only development that's ever did anything. They did build all those houses over there and nobody ever put a park in. Every time I got up and said they need a park, you go, oh, we can't do that. So I'm just saying, I hope you don't give them an extension. Because if they want to build. Otherwise, go somewhere else.
Any other public comment? Close public comment. Any other discussion, comments from council?
I'd just like to say that the developer has given the city millions and millions of dollars for sewer, parks, streets, everything else. The city makes the bad deals. They gave a 10-year deferment on $550,000 in 2005. When I got on the council in 2015, we tried to collect, but they had gone bankrupt, and it's not this developer here. So be very careful when you give deals without any collateral. I mean, that's where the fault was with that one. The same, Sutter Creek did the same thing up there at Bowers, but the developer donated 27 acres of land for parks, built Perry Hill Park. It's not the developer's fault that once they pay their fees, the city owns the money. What the city does with it, well, who knows? We're digging into that right now. But you can't blame the developer for what the city does with the money once the developer has paid the fees. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve the 5-year extension for the development agreement with Castle Oaks Partners LLC.
Well, I just wanted to throw something in.
Excuse me.
Staff is recommending approval of the extension, and the developer has met all of the requirements of moving forward with the project. And staff is making the recommendation, so I'll second your motion.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, moving on to reports and communications from city attorney.
None. I'll see the council shortly back in closed session.
Reports and communications from city manager.
We have the sewer study completed. So that will be coming forth here in the next meeting or so forth. We are also working diligently on the DTR impact fee plan. So we just made some adjustments to that. So that again will be coming forward. Justin Granados is making some really good progress in terms of the tracer study. I believe the tracer study is all ready to go. I believe Catherine Gies is scheduled to perform the study, I believe, at the end of this month. I believe Justin is making some progress with respect to the sand filters as well. And I think he just took the water sample with respect to an abatement issue that has come up previously. So everything is moving forward. And so hopefully I have positive news to report in the near future.
Thank you, George. Moving on to council comments, committee reports, and future agenda items. We'll start with.
Oh, I forgot one thing. I would like to congratulate Mr. and Mrs. Mackey for being Acorn Persons of the Year. For you. I called a little bit too late and tried to get tickets, but they said they were sold out. Mrs. Mackey, Mr. Mackey, we appreciate you being here in Ione. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, I'll start with Councilmember LaFane.
Well, my item will probably just get removed again. So,
that's a no, is it?
well, I'm gonna ask that it be put back on the agenda. Because it's, we have a duty. We can't just point the finger and say, you're costing us money, you're costing us money. We have and I don't know why you find this humorous. We are here for physical oversight. Period. That's why the warrants are presented to us. With other cities, we get the monthly profit and loss. We get a revenue report every month. All we get here are the warrants. So to see a $40,000 attorney bill, unless we're looking at the invoice, we don't know what's happening. So I don't see anything wrong with looking at the invoice so we can see where the money's being spent. So I would like that back on the agenda to discuss why we're going so far above the $11,000 in the performance.
Councilmember Mitchell,
I have nothing at this time.
Councilmember Allen.
Yeah, I'd like to requested this multiple times, put the median at Castle Oaks out to bid. I think we could save money there. I'm shocked that our water usage hasn't come down as much as I thought it might. So I'd like that put out to bid, and also like a budget update. And we could probably wait until the end of this third quarter because, we're almost there, but at least in April, without burdening in the staff, because I know you're working on a budget, but I would like a budget update if we could get one. Thank you.
Councilmember or Vice Mayor, maybe?
I just want to mention that I go to Amador County tourism meetings once a month, and it's very enlightening. There's a good group of people up there, and they're really trying to promote tourism throughout this county and through the city. And we're going to have, I think I forget the organization now, but they're going to have a home tour here. I think it's like the 9th of May or something. I just want to make sure people are aware of that. I'll give a better update next time. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
And I have nothing. With that said, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Closed session.
Move to adjourn to get to
Motion to
closed session.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to, John, can you switch? We'll go back into the closed session meeting. We are back from closed session. Legal counsel, would you report out first, please?
Item 4, liability claims, direction given. Item 5, conference with legal counsel, initiation of litigation. This pertains to management agreement between the city of Ione and J. Bolton West LLC. The council, by a 3-1 vote, has authorized initiation of litigation. Council member Atlan dissenting.
Thank you. With that said, would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Let's go second.
Second?
On favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Night.